This is part 4, preparing the radios. We have the RFD 900 and the Radio Master TX16S. So we'll go ahead and start with the Radio Master. So I have my batteries here. I already put them in. Pay careful attention into getting them in the proper order. You know, negative to negative, positive to positive. They may look like big double A's, but they are not. And if we plug them in the wrong way into the transmitter, it will break. Alright, we'll go ahead and do that. Peel off the little screen protector.
Welcome to Edge TX. Switch warning.
Alright, we are in. Let me lower the brightness a little bit. So, you can see that it has this kind of first model setup. You can see, we have some of those. It works. I'll hit System. I'll page over to the end or use the touchscreen. You can see Edge TX version is 271. And the latest version is 2.11.3. So we're going to go ahead and update the firmware on here. So you'll navigate to a site called Edge TX Buddy, and you can select the firmware version. So we'll select latest, select model, scroll down to Radio Master TX16S, and we'll click flash via USB. So we're going to take our radio. We're not going to turn it on. We are just going to plug in the USB-C cable that comes with the transmitter. It's a little bit picky on the types of USB-C cables that it likes to use, so use the one provided. Now when we go to click Add New Device, we should see STM32 bootloader. That's our radio. If we don't see it, go ahead and look for Impulse RC driver fixer and download this. And run it. But now we can go ahead and click STM32 bootloader, connect, next, start flashing. We'll go to set up SD card. Follow the prompts. I'll power on the Radio Master.
Welcome to Edge TX.
It's on. I'll plug it into USB-C again. Same as we did before, but now it's on. And I will select SD card. So you can see right here, USB storage. We'll select here, hit allow, save changes. We will tell, we just put the latest firmware. This is our radio, English, and apply changes. Add a few problems. I went back and forth, restarting the radio and trying, English guy. There's a couple you can pick. I think these are just different voice packs. Yeah, apparently this is in development, so there could be some bugs which I might be running into. So I'm going to just boot up my radio now and see if it worked.
Welcome to EdgeTX.
Alright, well, that seems like it did the trick. I'll go over, check the version. Yep, version looks correct. We're going to have to get a Lewis script to talk to the actual radio part of the radio. So that is the Express LRS Lewis script right here. So we'll go ahead and download. I guess we'll right click Save As. In Scripts, we're saving it in Scripts, Tools, ELRS v3. Oops. Okay. And hit Save. Now we'll hit System, Tools, and we see Express LRS. So that is talking with the radio inside here. So this will give us some control over the packet rate, telemetry ratio, modes, power, see what other devices are connected. But we also have to update this as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll turn Wi-Fi connectivity on. Wi-Fi is running. So now, if I go to Wi-Fi, I should see Express LRS TX. And the password is Express LRS. It will open up a MSN page for some reason. Okay, so sometimes it auto opens, sometimes it doesn't. I had to just go make sure that I had the correct IP address, so it's 10.0.0.1. That will bring you in here. And we can see our firmware is 3.3.1. So we'll open up Express LRS Configurator, an application downloaded from the internet. As we can see, we do have a newer version, so we'll go ahead and download that. Device category, we'll go and find Radio Master 2.4 gigahertz, and the device is the Radio Master TX16S internal. So I'll go click that. This is where you can set a custom binding phrase. Make it unique, because we'll do the same for the air side. That way they bind automatically. And network devices, since we are connected to the radio through Wi-Fi, I can go ahead and hit select. So it changes this to Wi-Fi flash. And I'll go ahead and flash it. Okay, success. Go back to System, Tools, Express LRS, Wi-Fi connectivity, enable Wi-Fi again. Connect to Express LRS. And we can see right here that it has been updated. If you want to change the binding phrase later, you can do that in here. Wi-Fi auto on. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to set that to, I'm just going to leave it blank to disable it. And what that does basically, if you do not have the radio connected to your drone, in 60 seconds it will automatically turn Wi-Fi mode on. I like turning that off on the transmitter side because we can go in and turn Wi-Fi mode at any time. Click save. We'll reboot. And I'll power this off for now. And we're going to do the same thing on the air side. Okay, so I'm just going to plug the drone in. Just power the flight controller, which in turn powers the RC radio. That way we don't have to have the ESCs beeping and all that stuff. So you can see the Express LRS radio right here, flashing. It's searching for connection, and it's not going to get it. So eventually it will turn itself into Wi-Fi mode. There we go. See that new blinking? And now, if we go check, we see Express LRS RX. Hit connect. Same thing. We are on 330. We'll open up Express LRS configurator. Right here, device category. Okay, this is a beta FPV 2.4, Super D 2.4. And I'm just going off of the bag here. So yeah, beta FPV, Super D, Express LRS 2.4. So that looks correct. We'll want to make sure our binding phrase is the same. So on second thought, I'm just going to plug the drone in to make sure that the radio receiver is getting proper power. That looks like it's working. Success. Okay, it's back in Wi-Fi mode after rebooting. I'll hit connect. It opens MSN. I'll go here. Excellent. We want to make sure we keep the Wi-Fi auto on to 60 seconds or set it to whatever you like. Just definitely have it enabled. And everything looks good. Our firmware is up to date. Now what I'm going to do is power this on, reboot the drone, that way it's out of Wi-Fi mode.
Welcome to HTX. Telemetry connected.
Telemetry connected. Excellent. Now go System Tools. And now zoom in a little bit. So this C in the top right corner means connected, and there's tons and tons of cool things we can do with Express LRS. Other devices, click that, and click our receiver. So now we can see some of our receiver settings. Protocol we'll leave as Crossfire, S-Bus failsafe. No pulses is fine. I like setting telemetry power to match TX. That way we set our power on the TX.
Signal critical.
And it will match. All right. RC's connected. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, you see how this throttle stick stays wherever it's placed? That's my preference when flying a fixed wing airplane, where you might be cruising with throttle around here, you might want to set it here, but when we're flying a quad in a loiter mode or an altitude hold mode, you really want the stick to go back to center. That way anything below center is descend, anything above center is climb. This makes it kind of tricky because when you're looking at the drone, you may have the stick here and you're like, okay, I'm climbing, let me bring it back down. I much prefer to have it snap back like this stick. So we're going to open it up and we're going to tell the radio to do that. This is definitely optional, but this is my preference, so let's go ahead. So the easiest way of making this radio self-centering is through these two screws, here and here. Start by turning this one clockwise. Not super tight, just to get it clockwise. And then we'll turn this one counterclockwise. You can see it's starting to center. Once it's centered, that's good. So you can see it's now centering, but it's not the same as this, and you may like that. So what I'll do is take the radio apart. Since we're opening up the radio, we're going to make sure it's powered down and battery is removed. We're going to pop off these side panels. And don't lose these screws, definitely, and try to keep them in order because I don't think they're all the same length. These actually use a larger bit. Alright, now we're going to carefully pull it back. There is a wire that still connects these. So we're going to pop that off. Pop that off. Set aside the back. Alright, this is the inside of our radio. And as you can see, this is the stick we need to straighten out. This one bounces back. If you're not going to go through with centering this stick, the other things you can do are play around with the tension and haptics, I guess you could say. So if you loosen this one, this will go up and down a lot easier. And if you increase this one, you hear that? So if I screw down this screw right here, it will actually give me some feedback. And I usually like doing that. I like adding that in if I'm gonna have my throttle stick not center like that, because I can feel the clicks. And the reason it's like that, so the reason this one isn't snapping back like this one, which may be ideal for you, is what we talked about with these. So this one right now is screwed down. You can see there's a gap there, and there's no gap here. So if we unscrew this a little bit, so it's starting to do that as well. So I think that's how I'll leave it. Time to plug this one back into here. These are plastic screws, so you don't want to try to tighten them too tightly because they'll just rip apart the plastic. You can see they have the little pointed tip, so we don't want to tighten them too hard. Power it on.
Welcome to HTX. Throttle warning. Switch warning.
So that is the one thing you'll have to do when you power it on. You'll have to give it the little throttle warning, which we can disable that too, but it's a good check. Okay, next step, we're going to set up the telemetry radios, the RFT 900s, and we're going to take our FTDI cable and plug it into the RFD. So back when we looked at the pinout, we know that this pin is ground, and this third pin is power. So if we plug it in like so, that should be correct, but just to double check. 5-volt USB, the third pin, ground, the first pin. So this should work for us. We'll go ahead and plug it into the computer. There's our light, meaning we have power. Now, in order to talk to this thing, we will go ahead and download RFD 900 tools. One bonus tip here too, if you don't want to download RFD 900 tools, if you go to Setup and Optional Hardware, SICK Radio, it's basically like a built-in RFD 900 tools, but it doesn't always work, so I just got an error, but just so you know. So we'll select the COM port. No idea which COM port it is, so we'll just have to try COM 14, hit connect, load settings. It looks like that was the correct one since everything got populated. So the firmware on here is 3.57. So let's check firmware. So if your firmware is not up to date, we're going to want to update it by downloading one of these firmware packages. We can see the version of this radio is a X2 RFD 900 X2 US. So the X2 firmware is the V2 hardware. So we'd go ahead and download this, the latest, and upload firmware, and we'd go ahead and choose the firmware and hit open and upload, but we're not going to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other settings on here, and we don't need to change anything, but just so we understand what's going on. The baud rate, how fast the communications are going, we'll leave that default. Airspeed is how fast the radios are talking through the air, we'll leave that there. Net ID, now we're definitely going to want to change this. 25 is the default, but we're going to leave that default for now. But when it comes competition day, if everyone is set to net ID 25, well, then everyone's drone is going to connect to everyone's radio, so we're going to want to choose a different one. TX power, we'll leave it at maximum 30. Mavlink's on. Min frequency, max frequency. All this stuff looks good. Like I said, just kind of exploring around, seeing what the settings are. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and power on the drone, and we should potentially, if the other radio is set just like this one, we should have them talking to each other. We see this green LED flashing. When the two radios are connected, that should go solid. There we go, radio's solid. The blinking red LED means they're talking. I'm gonna go back to RFD 900 tools, load settings, and now we see the right side of this loaded up, which is actually the radio settings on the drone side. So now we can change things remotely. So now that I have both radios connected, I'm going to change the net ID, and like the number 19, so I'm going to set them both to 19. And then hit Save Settings. Load settings just to make sure. Alright, we are connected. And everything still looks good on this end. So that is radio section complete.